Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. We had a fun session earlier, didn't we?
It was a great one, actually. So make sure to tune into that as well.
You can see that in the video library. But our next session is talking about beyond the Matchathon, because this weekend is a Matchathon. What is a Matchathon?
It's a matchmaking program, taking your idea into the market with some help from partners and other mentors, and yeah, just get things going in real life.
It's true. And I mean, this whole process has been very much a case study for accelerated learning, accelerated business growth. Because, you know, only 3 weeks ago, 22,000 people?
Yes, almost. Now down to 200.
Now down to 200 ideas. So
yeah.
22,000 people got together for a hackathon, which is the aptly named EUvsVirus, because it's a European Commission initiative. And over those 3 weeks, they have been creating ideas. They were finding teams, complementary skill sets,
having mentor sessions.
And now we find ourselves with the best of the bunch. We find ourselves with the 200 best ideas, with teams of anything from 3 to 10. So there are several hundred people. And now they're looking at how to progress their ideas, how to save lives in some cases, save businesses in other cases. And, you know, they need partners to do that, right? So this session we're running today and tomorrow are about talking to some of those partners. And today we're going to be looking beyond the Matchathon and linking your project to the innovation ecosystem.
Yes. So we're going to talk to 4 representatives from the incubator field, accelerator field, university field, and angel perspective.
And if you don't know what those mean, we're going to come to those throughout the session. So stay tuned. And hey, actually, hello to all of you.
Yes, hello. If you're a team watching, drop your link to your concept below.
Because people will rewatch these videos at a later stage. And if they're interested in finding out what these teams are doing, they might just look in the comments and they might see your company and they might click through, and you never know who's watching. So make sure that you get active in the comments, write some questions, tag your teammates throughout the session.
So over to our first guest, Andrea, you're a return guest. Andrea Kozma, CEO, Innovation Lab in Hungary. So tell us first, how have you been involved in the EUvsVirus and now in the Matchathon? Let's start there.
Hello, Andrea.
Perhaps you're on mute?
I'm on mute. Yeah.
There you are.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So hello, everyone. So we started to engage with this whole process during the hackathon. Some of the teams from our incubation participated as hackers. We also helped on the organization part, as well as we provided mentors at all different levels, scale mentors and general mentors. So we have seen the big part. And then continued to the Matchathon side, which is really an exciting and a brand new experience for us.
Cool. You'll be talking to us a little bit about the incubator, Angel. Can you tell us what is an incubator?
We are a university business incubator. What we do is we incubate during a 1-year incubation process. Teams, usually very early stage teams. So our mix of teams is very much like the ones I've seen here. Some of them already have, some kind of sales, but most of them really, need us to help to formulate the idea, to help them on the go-to-market strategy, help put together the first business plan, financial planning, and test the product. So this is what we do. We have a 1-year long incubation process, which we really customize to the individual needs of the teams, depending on the sector and the stage. And we try to deploy as much as we can the university infrastructure to support the incubation process. So this is a big advantage to work at the university, because we also have the students working with the teams, helping the teams, and learning from the teams.
So it's a good feedback loop of information and knowledge transfer there, right, Andrea?
Absolutely. And the
forward from
community
this.
itself is a big knowledge transfer. So we work in a co-working office on the campus, and the knowledge sharing between the teams is just amazing. This is one of the biggest advantage to work in an incubator, to learn from others how they do it.
Thanks. So how will you gonna do this? How will you change going forward in your process?
One of the things which obviously is going fully online. So all the mentoring and support we have been providing so far was obviously offline. Now we had to, change overnight to online support. The first 2 weeks was really scary, and especially on the community part, because that was such a big part of our, life, to be a community, to transfer this whole community feel and support to online. But
So
I think it's.
What kind of tools have you started to use, like Slack or?
We use Slack as well. We use Slack, but Teams. So we have our town hall meetings and regular meetings on Teams and Zoom.
Microsoft Teams, or because I think every major
Microsoft,
software
Microsoft
has a
Teams.
Teams, right?
Yeah.
Cisco
Yeah,
Teams.
no, I'm talking. I'm talking. Yeah, that's what the university is using. So that's the infrastructure. But and also what we see is that the way the teams react to the crisis. So many of them had to seriously rethink their business model and the market. Some of them benefited actually from the situation, and the fintech companies, interestingly, and some others could turn around their business model in 2-3 weeks time, and coming out at the right and a good end of this change. The social enterprises were really hit hard.
So how are you following up on them? The startups that doesn't do well.
Well, we have regular calls with the teams, and we try to support them as much as we can. But some of them just have to live through this this time, and find some other things to do with their time. Unfortunately,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Andrea. We'll get back to you with a question of your lesson throughout this COVID-19 situation.
Personal or professional, we're going to come back to everyone at home right now. At the end, we love to ask this question to our lovely guests.
Perhaps you can even comment below, like, what has been your lesson, personal or business-wise?
Write that right now. What has been your biggest lesson? If you have a beautiful saying, a comment, think of it as a point of inspiration for anyone else.
Yeah, perhaps you have a good quote, like the one, never waste a good crisis.
Never waste a good
Winston
crisis.
Churchill, I believe.
Yes, it was. And Jacob mentioned that earlier in our previous stream. Thank you so much, Andrea. We're going to come back to you in a minute. Let's head over to Anna Barjasic, who is the CEO of Connectology and Global Entrepreneurship Network in Europe. Anna, good morning. Welcome.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me, and hello, everyone.
Anna, straight up, let's get into it. How are you involved, and what are you contributing to this Matchathon hackathon?
So basically, I got involved recently because I'm a part of the European Innovation Council, and this is a financial instrument from the European Commission that in the last cutoff, which was last week, has invested over 300 million in high risk, high growth startups. So this is how I got to hear about this initiative, and I'm really happy to be on board.
And that funding, that's new funding that's been made available for companies in Europe. Is that correct?
So it's a pilot initiative. It's been going on already for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. It will be a part of the new framework program from the European Commission. So it's basically funding very early stage companies that are non-bankable otherwise.
I'm just going to mention one point there. Pilot customers, pilot tests for everyone at home. Pilot testing is basically it's a test. It's a first time trial, basically, to see how it works. But you also, Anna, you're very involved in European angel investing, both part of the European Angel Business Angel Network and others. You also set up the Angel Week. Well, firstly, what is an angel? Describe to us what an angel investor is.
So angel investors, they are high net worth individuals, which apart from their money, so their own private money, also contribute with their network and their mentorship hours. And this is called also smart money. And they're basically filling a equity gap. So if a company is too early stage for VCs, business angel is a great, or a syndicate of angels is a great solution. In this moment, I think, from my perspective, smart money or angel investment is more important than ever when it comes to Corona, because we need to de-risk the companies and or whatever is connected to the company. So it's very important that there is a very thorough process of risk mitigation, and on top of that, risk leadership, in order to make sure that companies actually survive. So by that I mean, for example, pivoting. So you know about many examples now during the crisis, how companies basically reinvent themselves. Like, for example, textile companies all of a sudden produce masks, or I don't know, wine companies, they produce.
And pivoting, break that down for me. So pivoting, as you've just given a few nice examples for, but just elaborate a little bit on pivoting.
So basically pivoting, for example, you have clients, you're selling wine, for example, but now in Corona, there is much more need for, let's say, alcohol in terms of gel sanitizer. So you are going to start producing gel sanitizer because all of a sudden there is this new market. You're basically changing either your product or your business model or something in order to help the company survive.
Cool, thanks. So what we are curious about is, how do you see the angel landscape change going forward?
Well, that's a great question. I am also very curious to see it in the future. However, at the moment, because we're talking about private investors who invest their own personal money, and many of their core businesses are at risk, let's say. So they are more reluctant to invest in companies, in startups. So I would say that, and there's been various projections that angel investment is reducing, I don't know, 20, 30%, etc., going forward. However, I would say that maybe there is not such a lack of funding or funds in the market. I would say there is more reluctancy to invest. So I would really advise the companies to think about how you can reduce risks for your investors before you actually go for fundraising. So is it like milestone funding based on milestones, or some other way where you don't look at, I don't know, 2 million upfront or 1 million upfront, then you agree on some milestones, and after success you unlock the second or the next round of investment.
You know, interestingly, Anna, I saw there was Sifted.eu channel. They released an article yesterday about in March based on Deal Room, 22% down in drop in funding rounds in Europe. So in March, funding rounds were down 22%. We got it out in the end, and valuations were down between 10 and 40%. We also saw that Monzo are doing a round now, which is apparently 40% reduction on their $2 billion valuation in their last round. So we're seeing down rounds now. So my question to you then, Anna, is what are you telling angels? Because, you know, for those at home who are watching this and listening and interested about how should they approach raising funds right now, these angels, they are private individuals. So if they are privately wealthy, they may have this cash just sitting there waiting to invest. So allocating it to these high risk investments. What are you telling your angel investors? Should they look at down rounds when you raise money at a lower valuation to your last round as a positive way to get into a business that's got IP and value? Or what are you telling them? Are you telling them to drop their standards?
Well, I don't think dropping standards, I'm not sure that it's the best approach. Definitely not be so harsh on maybe some procedural things, etc. However, I think it's you know, the business, you know, many businesses that would not work anyways maybe will not work especially in this crisis. So I think in terms of the funding, what is important, and in terms of the angels, what is important is that, well, the valuations will definitely be lower and in the future. So, and well, at least short-term future. However, when it comes to angels, they're really, their motivation is diverse to become an angel investor in the first place. So many people are motivated to find a new unicorn. Some people want to contribute back to the community, etc. So I think it basically depends on them, how they want to invest. What we advise is basically de-risking the companies, but also tapping into some potential angel communities. So maybe you don't have a labeled angel investor who is a professional or active angel investor, but is a businessman or a businesswoman and could potentially help a company. So don't be afraid to untap the network around you.
I think that's great advice from Anna there. Untap that network around you. And if you are an angel investor and you are watching this and you are interested and you have capital to invest, write down right now, and you don't have to say your email address or anything. Just, you know, you can say, hey, I'm looking to invest. You can throw the little hand sign up, post the emoji or something like that. You know, that's a fun game we should do. Everyone right now, post your favorite emoji just to get some activity, and I'm including all our guests too.
Which one is yours?
Good question.
I think mine is mine is the hearts, the eyes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Anna, thank you so much. Don't forget our question. I'm going to come back to you at the end of this chat, Anna, which is, what is a personal lesson you have learned from COVID? It can be personal or professional, whatever it is. We'd love to hear it. Short and concise. Thank you, Anna.
So now we're going to go over to a guy who has the accelerator perspective. Alice, you are partner of Rouge Capital, coming in from Croatia. How are you, my friend? And how have you been involved in the Matchathon and now, or hackathon, and then the Matchathon?
Hi, Yulia. Hi, Matt. It's good to see you. Good to hear you. Thanks a lot for inviting us here. And we've been actually quite active. We are making quite a lot of connections with the teams originating from the Matchathon, and hopefully in the future we will invest into some of them. We're inviting them to come to Croatia, we're inviting them to come to our accelerator there. And the invitation means that they get a small investment somewhere in the round of what business angels would usually do.
Which is what?
Which is around 50K at this stage, 50,000. Yeah.
So
the fact that we have a follow-up venture capital fund makes it more alluring, more interesting, because if they develop nicely, if they start to grow fast, they can then get significantly more from us.
Thanks. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, what is an accelerator?
Well, an accelerator is actually an institution which helps companies that have high growth potential accelerate their growth. So essentially, we come after the incubators that Andrea mentioned before. That means companies that come to the accelerator usually have some revenue already, they are growing, and they can grow faster. So we help them with some money, we help them with our network, we have an international mentorship program, and oftentimes we help them expand to other countries. If you come from a small country, you usually cannot grow very fast unless you expand internationally. This is what we help them.
So Alice, would you recommend startups to first do an incubator and then an accelerator, and also the question is, like, is it necessary?
Well, I think I would actually recommend that, because incubators are often quite good in supporting startups develop their product. So product development is mostly the focus of incubator, the way how I see it. And then accelerator is mostly focused on business development and growth. So I think accelerator is a logical next step coming after the incubator. Of course, it also helps that usually incubators don't invest their own money while accelerators do.
And they take equity accelerators, a lot of them as well, right, into the companies. But Alice, you mentioned a few points there around your accelerator, and you're inviting the companies who are part of the Matchathon to join you. Now, I'm curious, because I'm also involved in an accelerator in Oslo here. It's called Catapult Accelerator, focused on impact tech companies, solving the SDG goals, basically. And the batch 5 they're currently running, and for those of you at home who are new to this concept of accelerators, they run in batches, and same as incubators. And You can think about a batch like you know, a batch of
Cookies.
like a batch of, it's true, like a batch of cookies, and each cookie is a different company, and you know, in each company has a few people, and they'll join this program. And accelerators are typically run anything from a 3 to 6 month program where they try to grow that company's sales, or as you mentioned already, Alice, product development. No, sorry, not product development, business development, which is startup jargon for sales and growth and customer data, etc. But these are traditionally done in a physical location, right? You know, the Catapult group, they have a great office here. It's like a co-working space, and often these are even located in co-working spaces. Now, we know the new norm that we're all living in, that no one's working from anywhere, they're all working from home. Are accelerators still going to run? Are you going online? Can you go online? Because isn't part of an accelerator meeting people, bumping into them, having the beers at the demo days? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, obviously they can go online because our current batch is fully online. They cannot physically come to our co-working space, so they have to be online. And what we've discovered is that while this might not be ideal, it is perfectly feasible. What is missing is actually exactly this element that you've mentioned, Matt. It's, you know, kind of a collaboration and at the same time also competition between the teams. But if you develop the virtual program well, I think you can achieve that same thing actually doing this way. On the other hand, the virtual accelerator does have an enormous scale-up potential because in a physical space, you're limited by the number of teams that you can support. While in this way that we are doing, basically running everything on different digital platforms, you're really not limited with the number of startups that you can support anymore.
So the startups that you have been working with, how have they been handling the crisis?
Well, surprisingly well. It depends, of course, on the industries. I mean, startups in the tourism industry have been hit hard, and there is no way around that. On the other hand, we had startups that had been working on, I don't know, 3D printing marketplace that initially in the next day, basically when the lockdown started, pivoted towards producing a ventilators and, you know, 3D printing certain replacement parts for them. We have a very interesting startup doing spirits tastings, and the business has gone up a lot.
Cool. Thank you so much, Alice.
Don't forget, we're going to come back to your question, Alice, at the end of this, which is, what is your big learning from this? It can be professional, it can be personal. We want to hear it, so get ready for that one. Let's jump over to our last guest, Alexandru. He's going to take an interesting angle from the university angle. Alexandru Marchis, Universitat Colegio del Sacro Cuero.
That's a little bit Spanish rather than Italian.
Cuero.
Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore.
Beautiful. You said it so much better than I.
Yes.
What is your involvement in this hackathon and the Matchathon, Alexandru?
So first, thank you very much for having me. I'm very glad to be here in this very interesting panel. In terms of the involvement in the Matchathon, I think what I can say is that the first thing we wanted to do when hearing about the Matchathon, the hackathon and the Matchathon, was to get the word out, and not only in our university but also using our network. And now I can put my other hat on as being a Secretary General of the Unilion network that has a reach out possibility to 158 universities all over Europe. So we use these networks to get the word out. Then the second thing obviously was to reach from the point of view of our university, to reach out to projects that were of interest to our researchers and to our research departments. And actually not only reach out to them, it created that opportunity for bidirectional communication. So getting the information from us to them on what we can offer, and then listening to them what they need. And hopefully this will end up in some very good projects. But I think the result, the immediate result, is not the important thing here. I think the important thing is starting the conversation. So, because even if we do not end up in a successful project now with these project teams, we would have started conversations with innovators. And that's the great value of this process, because we might come back in 6 months, in 9 months, in 1 year time with new projects, with new ideas to put on the table, or scaling up the ideas that were now discussed.
Alexandru, you touched on interesting points there, where the universities have a key role to play in the research and innovation aspect, because a lot of people don't realize this unless it's the obvious industries like healthcare and biomed, but universities play a very strong role. We've seen in Norway specifically, there's a university called NTNU, Norwegian Technology University, basically, which has actually been the birthplace of a lot of the most successful startups in Norway today. They have played a role in activating the student body to look at entrepreneurship, but also allowing companies to test, trial, and see if products can work through the staff and the students of those universities. So going forward, I mean, there's an interesting narrative on that we've seen with the EU Commission. We've seen governments moving quickly, putting bureaucracy aside and helping innovative organizations move forward. How do you see the universities playing a role in that? Because universities are done on curriculums, right? They agree a curriculum a year before and then it goes on. So you can't change anything. Everything at the moment needs to change quickly. Are you responding from a research and innovation perspective?
No, I'm glad that you mentioned NTNU as an example. It's we are collaborating closely with NTNU, and we are exchanging. Including through our Unilion network, we are exchanging experiences in how we can make the whole process more dynamic. And indeed, I mean, if you focus on the educational part, you get that idea that kind of everything is set in stone, at least for a period of time. But the dynamic changes completely when we are talking about research and innovation within the same university. So obviously, on the educational part, you need to have a certain consistency of content, because you need to reply to some demands that are coming at the society level. On the research and innovation part, our universities are able to be more flexible and even more active, and I can see it now happening at a very fast pace. And to come to kind of the second part of your question, what can we offer as universities to this process? I think first we can focus on obviously offering the expertise of our research groups. If that is management, technical expertise, organizational, market expertise, whatever you can think of, depending on the profile of the university. But mostly we can offer information on the state of the art. Do not forget that our researchers are connected globally, not regionally, not locally. They are connected globally in networks where they know what is happening in certain fields. The latest informations, they get it. Then the other role they can play is to link you to stakeholders. We are connected in various shapes and forms, and I'm speaking now on behalf of, let's say, the academic community, not only on behalf of on behalf of my university. We are connected to local regional hubs. We are connected to incubators, accelerators, as we saw from the example of Andrea. So we have network of companies, even reaching out to investors.
Alexandru, to that point as well, I mean, you've mentioned a lot of areas that the universities and the students and the research councils can assist in this response to COVID-19 and things like that. How do we approach you? Is there one website I can go to find students or research bodies to assist? How can I, as a founder of a company in this recent time, take advantage of the offering you've just said?
I mean, opportunities offered like we now have with the hackathon and the Matchathon, it's an obvious choice. But then also I would encourage all entrepreneurs to reach out directly to the universities that are within their reach. And obviously, sometimes they will be some disappointed, but there is a great potential there, and keep on trying. So. Yeah, I mean, reaching out is the way to go.
Cool. Thank you so much, Alexandru. We will get back to you in a couple of minutes.
Don't forget the question.
Yes, don't forget the question. Andrea, have you been thinking a little bit about your lesson from the COVID situation, either personal or business-wise?
Andrea, I will unmute you.
Again, I muted myself. Okay. Yeah. So I think on both the personal and the business side, I think we can adjust quicker than we would think and create new habits that are really important. Either on a personal or on a business side. So I'm thinking about my young kids who had to go online and just to adjust and settle into this habit of having their classes done online, but on the work side as well. And I think on the incubation side, online mentoring was not something that we have done before, because we really think that the support that a mentor can do is a very personal one. Personal contact is important. I think it still holds, but the next best thing is to do it online. And what is important that when crisis like this happens, that we stay in touch and keep, the personal interaction, because that really helps. And that, those get out of these situations who don't panic and can still make rational decisions, even in crisis time. So that stay calm, make strategic decisions, don't panic. And it's and I think
Don't panic.
Stay cool, act rationally. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Anna, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think after the initial shock of all these quarantines, etc., there's been many behavioral changes. And I would say that now, at least from my perspective, we're moving towards focus and productivity, because, before, let's say, if you are organizing an event for 400, 500 people with a couple of speakers, you would need to organize it for many months and all the logistics, the venues, etc. And now you can just you're just a Zoom call away. So I think that's very interesting, and we see a lot of impact on, for example, Shopify or Facebook. They're going to work from home from now on, without alternatives in many cases. So I think in terms of professional, that's it. In terms of personal, God, I miss traveling. I think I haven't been on a plane for 2 months, so that's just a huge change for me. But however, one thing that I would say definitely as a key advice for all the entrepreneurs that are watching, I think is so important that in any pitch that you are preparing, please include a section about how this crisis will impact your business. I think this is so important, and if you're pitching to investors, whoever, it's just, otherwise they'll think you are living on another planet or something.
Yeah, in your bubble. Sure.
That's it from me. Thank you.
Yeah, stay mindful. That's a great one, Anna. Alex, have you been thinking?
Yes, I have. I think that two main thoughts come to mind. One is that the virtual world that we live in now basically has no borders. So for companies, this is an opportunity. They can, we've been talking about a single European market for 50 years, and now one crisis creates a virtual global market without any boundaries. But the second thought actually goes back to the physical. I really hate the fact that the borders have been reimposed, and I really hope that, open the borders soon. Mm-hmm. The sooner the better.
Yeah, I agree on you with that.
Thank you so much, Alice. Alexandru, back to you, my friend. What are your thoughts on our question?
I think I will follow the same pattern as my colleagues and share with you a professional angle and the personal angle. I think from a professional point of view, relevant to this discussion, I think what I can see from the network of universities we are active in, I can see that there is a more, let's say, they are more willing to take risks in processes. Huh? So more willing to get engaged quickly and then rather than keeping control of the process. So engaging quickly in building innovation ecosystems, that's something that I can see is not a process that started now. It has been ongoing, but now, if you want, it was accelerated. Just to use the words that we have in the title of this session. On a personal level, I think the learning that I have is that time can have different values depending on the context and on your perspective. So what used to be a waste of time perceived 3 months ago, now it becomes an interesting activity.
Yeah,
That's the value of time has shifted, if you want. Sometimes for the best, sometimes for the worst.
thank you, Alexandru. And thank you to Andrea, Anna, Alice, and Alexandru. And I know that Matt, he always does a good job with doing the sum up. So go ahead, Matt.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Sorry about that.
What?
You didn't
yes.
prepare this time.
No, I always prepare for the sum up. So what the narrative for me from this conversation with our lovely guests was that, obviously starting off with Andrea around seeing the support functions of an incubator and it all going online. Online mentoring is something that we should be looking out for going forward. This conversation was all about beyond the Matchathon. So be vigilant, and try to be well read about what is available to you in support. I know that there are a lot of online resources that are now free that have previously been behind paywalls that have now gone online. Also, even just YouTube is a great online resource to just, if you use the right keywords to find the right information, you can do that. Even my channel, The Lunicorn.
Or my channel.
Or her channel, exactly. Then following up with Anna on the angel investment side of things. I mean, obviously we've heard about valuations reducing, and that might very well be the case, but how will the crisis affect your company is something that you should communicate to investors, I think. If you're a founder trying to raise money right now, in that deck, which is your company presentation, those list of slides, could actually be an interesting one to talk about risk mitigation and say, hey, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah. I think you have a bigger chance of actually getting funded if you show that you're mindful about this.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think that's a great idea to have a slide in there and say, hey, look, this is what we think, this is scenario 1. We get out of this after summer. This is scenario 2. But be mindful of that and honest from day one. That's something that's come out of all these streams. Be honest from day one and say, hey,
transparent.
Look, this is a trouble we're facing and this is a trouble we will face, but this is the opportunity in that trouble. Let's look at it that way. And then obviously, Alice, we're talking about joining an accelerator virtually, 50,000 euros on the table, open for grabs. No, of course, there's some requirements that they will need you to take for that one, but they are looking to invest. They're looking to invest, at least in the first stages as part of their accelerator. And that investment is 50,000 euros. Now, I'd imagine some of that goes back to the program, but they're not just coming there with money. They're coming there with time, with mentorship, again, virtually, support, network, you name it. So look at Alice for that. They have a VC fund to follow up afterwards if you need to raise further capital, which you no doubt will if you're a startup. They like money, don't they? They like money. It's fuel. It's rocket fuel. And finally, from our conversation with Alexandru in Italy, reaching out to universities right now in your region could be a very good way to do things. And actually, I urge anyone who has any hookups and is watching this to tag those, write a comment of how to get involved with your local municipality, your local university, because I believe those that are active in this space are making those available to companies, especially as a response to COVID at the moment.
We will be back at 2 p.m. with the talk of women leaders during the crisis. I find that a really cool topic.
It is, because Andrea has a fantastic podcast on female entrepreneurship called Power Ladies, the aptly named Power Ladies. If you're a Scandinavian speaker, then have a listen to it. It's really great. She's going to go international at some point, I believe.
Yes, I will.
She will. Maybe she'll interview me.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But so everyone, thank you so much for watching once again. My name is Matt C. Smith, and this is
Andrea of the Dog. Thank you for joining.
Have a nice lunchtime. And we will see you in 2 hours' time on this channel. You don't want to miss our next session. What's our next session?
Yeah, it's women leaders.
Women leaders. You just mentioned it. We'll be back. Tune in for that one. Ciao, ciao from Oslo, Norway.